Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Weave from the Winnipeg Free Press. Together, we are Kenny and Renny, and this is the Kenny and Renny post-game show after the Winnipeg Jets get back into the winning column. Didn't dally in the loss column for too long. They're right back at it. Sorry that we are a little bit late here, and when I say a little bit late, it looks like we're in the neighborhood of 8 minutes late. I apologize for that. Got to be upfront, got to be transparent on this. I haven't seen any of this game. I saw the goal highlights off the NHL app, but I started this morning at 3:30 in the morning in Columbus, Ohio, flew to Washington, missed a flight there, stuck in Washington for half the day, finally got to Toronto, stuck in Toronto for the other half of the day. I was flying during the game, just touched down around the time the game was ending, and just walked in the door moments ago from the airport after they forgot entirely to put my bag on the plane starting in Columbus. So just everything that could have gone wrong. Say, listen, we've said it before on this show. If you ever happen to see Renny stroll onto a plane you are on, get up, walk off that plane, take the next plane. You will get there faster. I promise you. That is the Renny guarantee right there, for whatever that's worth. But what I will do here is I'll break down what I can tell you, what I saw from the goals. I will take away what I can take away from, the kind of outside stats on this, the way that the game looked. And I will add a little bit of flavor if I can in there, because I did the Canucks broadcast yesterday, when they were in first place in the NHL and playing a Columbus Blue Jackets team who 2 games for Columbus prior to that had just got wiped off the face of the hockey planet by the Winnipeg Jets, and essentially told everyone who was willing to listen that the Jets were the absolute real deal. And then the Canucks went in the tail end of a road trip. Now, I don't want to get too crazy for them, but I you know me, I'm not an excuses guy, so I don't buy a lot into the excuses. I don't know what it feels like to be at the tail end of a 7-game road trip. I don't know what it feels like to get stuck in that snowstorm the way that they did. The Canucks had to escape Buffalo by bus in the middle of a blizzard, had to drive up to Canada, up to Toronto to get out into Columbus, arrived late, and Columbus came in. We're winning that game, and then you could see absolutely ran out of gas in the third period. So 7-game road trip for the Canucks. I hosted the first game. They lost to the St. Louis Blues. Then they went on a heater and knocked off the Pittsburgh Penguins, the 2 New York teams, the New Jersey team, 3 New York teams, and went on a 5-game winning streak, and we're looking really impressive, and we're chasing the Jets the entire way, and then end the trip by losing in a shootout to the Columbus Blue Jackets. I can tell you this, and maybe I caught the Columbus Blue Jackets on, bad days or whatever. You know me, again, one of the reasons I find the Jets so impressive is they don't lean on the excuses, unlike this chat room seems to do quite often. You know who you are. It's like all of you, basically. Oh, no, time zones. Oh, well, look, we've been doing this for a long time. Oh, well, at least we only allowed 2 goals. Enough with the excuses. We know what you're talking about. I heard it from Canucks fans too. But what I will say is the team itself, this Winnipeg Jets team, not reliant on the excuses. You could see when it went on its road trip, it smoked the teams down the stretch. When they were supposed to be getting tired, they got the opposite direction. They went and got stronger, a bounce back like you see from them here tonight. I can tell you right now, from what I've seen and for what it's worth, maybe I caught 2 bad games for the Vancouver Canucks. I can't tell you the last 2 bad games I saw for the Winnipeg Jets. That's what I find interesting in the whole thing. But I can tell you right now, in this battle for first, right now they're tied in points atop the NHL. Jets have a game in hand, so that gives them the tiebreaker, and I think they have the other tiebreakers anyways. But the Vancouver Canucks are not the Winnipeg Jets. That's a team that outscores its problems. I wonder when they run into the Winnipeg Jets what you do when the basis of your game is outscoring your problems, when you can't score against a team, which is what the Winnipeg Jets showed again tonight. Another 2-goal performance. I saw the large amount of shots that Connor Hellebuyck faced in this game. I'm sure, based on what we've seen from the last little while, there were at least a couple doozies in there that he would have had to face. I'm guessing he had some pretty good chances against him that he made look easy. He most definitely wins the which goaltender was better in this game award from what I saw in the battle between the two goaltenders. Now, I know Sorokin faced a lot more shots. Sorokin's goal, the essential game winner, I think is a backbreaker for that team against Mason Appleton. That's a bad goal. It's a nice pass by Cole Perfetti. Boy, oh boy, Sorokin was never got his feet underneath him. Now, you got to give credit to the Jets in that situation. They're all around him. They're just buzzing, absolutely buzzing. And he just basically feels like he can never get set because the Jets feel like they're threatening just at every point there. And then, props to Cole Perfetti, who finds Neil Pionk absolutely wide open for the wide open net. Read that the goaltender was not set and was in trouble, but NHL goaltenders aren't supposed to leave goals that wide open. There should at least be some kind of push at some point. We didn't see it there. Two, less than stellar goals there. You can forgive them on the great Jets first goal, which is a double tip. Those are almost, game of Plinko. Those are almost impossible to stop. And if you take a look at the Connor Hellebuyck goals that he allows, the redirect by Anders Lee is like a big league redirect. That's pretty hard to stop. A little bit of a stinker on his second one. So I think they're kind of matched on the neither of them probably could have saved those tips from the point. Both of them let in a little bit of a stinker on the side of the net. They probably both would have liked back. It is Ilya Sorokin who has the extra stinker on the night that Connor Hellebuyck just does not allow, which makes him the better goaltender in this game. And to quickly go through the goals, that first goal of the game, just a perfect example of why this Jets team is going to be able to replicate this effort and these kind of goals in the playoffs, because it's the layering that they build in there. It's getting the shot to the point at the right time. It's the way that the guys in the front of the net, Velarde and Lowry, time their way to the front of the net. Both of them get touch that puck, but it's like you've got to contend with Lowry redirecting it, or you have to contend with Velarde redirecting it, or you have to contend with both, or nothing, and you can't have a shot just slip right past you. But there's just all kinds of scenarios that play up with those two guys going to the front of the net that just makes a goalie's brain lock up, and that's what we see happen in that situation. Again, the way that the Jets buzzed on that second goal just does not allow Sorokin to get set. Cole Perfetti, a hockey smarts kind of guy, is the kind of guy who will make that play. He'll see that a goalie's in trouble. He'll have the entire ice thinking he's doing one thing, and then all of a sudden he swings it over. Nobody sees it coming, and it's in the back of the net. To me, that's the difference in the game tonight. That goal is the difference in this game. Mason Appleton needed some luck. He got some luck for the game winner in this one. The one I really like, and it's almost seems silly to say this, is the empty net goal. The reason why I would like that if I was a Winnipeg Jets fan or a player on the Winnipeg Jets or this organization, Kyle Connor comes back into the game. You want your best scorer and still your leading goal scorer on the team. You want to get him back into rhythm as fast as you can. I love the idea that a coach will take his highest scoring player and throw him out on the ice in an empty net 1-goal lead situation. That shows a ton of faith in that player who's been out of the lineup for over a month. You don't know if the legs are there, but you've got a coach who just basically says, we're better off getting this guy going. I've got faith in him. Let's throw him out there and see what he can do. And then if I'm a coach, I love the response that you get from Kyle Connor. He's not skating around. He's not fishing for a goal. He's not looking for the easy path out of this. Kyle Connor goes and does the defensive work. He does the dirty work. He's the one who turns the puck over. He's the one who benefits off turning the puck over, goes down, nets that goal, gets that monkey off his back right away. That is just a coach having a faith in his player, a player rewarding his coach for the faith. And just to finally top this all off, we can get into the whole another game with just 2 goals allowed, but it's the depth. Right? It's a mixture of the third and fourth line score the game winner. Your first line gets you a goal, leads the charge to start the scoring. Your second line gets in on the action. And the team that you're playing has to rely on its stars to try and get them back into this game. It's not Cal Clutterbuck who's not coming in here and getting something going. It's not, it's not the defense going and jumping into the play and getting a goal. It's not any of those things that we're seeing from the Winnipeg Jets. Too many Winnipeg Jets players make themselves available to be offensive, to make a difference in a tight scoring game like that. Too many of them do it for other teams to handle who don't do that. They rely on a small amount of people to try and put the puck in the back of the net. Everybody else is just there trying not to get scored on. It's a organizational philosophy that is winning games for the Winnipeg Jets right now, because every single player on the Winnipeg Jets is a potential game-winning goal scorer. And a lot of the teams that come in here, there's only 5 or 6 guys who would be handed over that title. And that's why the Winnipeg Jets are back in the winning column here tonight. That's my take on it. You're not going to hear a lot from me after this, because that's basically all I got and all I saw. But let's bring in Ken so he can get what he saw from this game. Time to bring in the man with the best music in the business. Here comes Kenny. Kenny, I very much realize I look like a man who has spent the entire day traveling on a plane.
You've had a hard day, buddy. You've had a hard day.
I look like crap. You look great, though. You look great, because one of us right now is a man worthy of wearing Vittorio Rossi's duds. You're that guy. You look great. If you want to look like Ken, head on down to Corden Avenue. Visit the boys at Vittorio Rossi. Walk in, loudly proclaim Kenny and Renny sent you. Ask for Frankie and the boys, and they'll take you from looking like Renny to looking like Kenny, and that is a special thing right there. Ken, how are you doing? What'd you see tonight?
Buddy, happy to have you here. I know it's been a long day. Our friend Christine Simpson was disappointed you weren't able to make it. She was at the brink tonight. She's got some big interviews. Yep, she's excited. She's doing well, having a fun season. Good to have you. Sorry, there's just one minor thing that the NHL highlights didn't show you, is that everyone in the building saw the same thing that you did, Sean, until we saw the replay. And that's what we saw. Cole Perfetti shot the skate blade right off of Sorokin. That's why he couldn't push across on that goal. So it's not actually a muffin or a bad technical difficulty. We actually thought he was hurt, because he kind of went on one foot to the bench, and then they showed the replay. The wrist shot by Perfetti earlier in the sequence knocked the right skate blade into the corner. So Sorokin was flopping around like a fish and couldn't push post to post because he had no blade on the bottom of his skate. So I think we wouldn't put that one into the soft category, but we would put the Mason Appleton shot from below the goal line as definitely one that he would like back. Hellebuck equally wanting the second Anders Lee goal back that was scored from basically at the goal line, I guess. So, I mean, obviously great hustle play by Mason Appleton. He beat Noah Dobson to the puck, and obviously that this is for when you haven't scored in a long time. Appleton confessed after, admitted he wasn't even trying to bank it off. He just was trying to beat Dobson to the puck. That's just one of the things. You're trying to create a little bit of chaos. But when you've gone 25 games without and you've had one disallowed at the buzzer beater into an empty net, you'll take him any way that you could get him. Mason Appleton showed his sense of humor when he was asked by colleague Paul Friesen, what are you thinking after the hot start, and what was it like to go through the drought? Mason saying, well, after the good start, you mean 50? Is that what I was thinking? So he had a good laugh about it. But, I mean, it's an important goal for the Jets. It's the game winner in a game where, once again, Rennie's brooding pessimism said it best. I mean, you wouldn't have enjoyed this game, Sean, because the Jets were a little bit too loose again. I think 13 high danger chances here tonight. Wow. 13 at even strength, 16 total. Puck management not great. Some of the puck, I would say early on in the first period, there were a lot more kind of, it was one of those Montreal Canadiens games where they were just kind of firing from everywhere. There were only 3 high danger chances in the first, but as the game wore on, I mean, 4 in the second, 6 in the third at even strength. So the Jets were a little bit too loose in this one, Sean, I would say again, to the point that Rick Bowness is giving his team 2 days off in a row here before skating on Friday before they head out on this 3-game road trip that begins in Ottawa with the game against the Senators. Agree with you completely in terms of Kyle Connor. Initially, you're definitely paying attention and you're wondering if maybe Alex Iafallo goes out with the top line and when they're protecting the 1-goal lead. But Rick Bowness loved the game that Kyle Connor had. He was very active throughout, skating extremely well for a guy who had missed 5 weeks and 2 days. Kyle finishing with 6 shots on goal, 3 and 10 shot attempts. And as you mentioned, I mean, he wasn't just out there cheating, trying to get an empty net cookie. He made the play at the blue line to, prevent a shot, gets the lane to the net, fires it into the empty net for his 18th of the year. So I think I was very impressed. I'm not surprised by the way that he played. Just he's kind of a guy that was very motivated in terms of getting back, before the deadline, or not deadline, but the original timeline that Rick Bowness suggested, the 6 to 8 weeks. He'd been skating very well. I saw him on that last road trip on the Mentors trip. He was really moving well. This week he was moving well, and he was watching the team from above, and he was running his routes properly today. A couple bobbles, but that's to be expected. I didn't see a ton of rust on him. I thought he was excellent in the game, and you saw that chemistry that the Jets were hoping for when they, acquired Gabriel Velarde. Now, again, they want to have Mark Scheifele in the middle on that line eventually, but another game where Adam Lowry was involved kind of all over the place, Sean. Another primary assist on the redirection of the Josh Morrissey shot. Adam, I think, was over 20 minutes here for the first time in a long time, I want to say. 20:02 on 28 shifts, 4 shots on goal, 6 attempts, 2 hits. It took 28 draws. So he was very involved. Gabriel Velarde, had 1, but, someone sent me a text during the game. Thought Velarde could have had 3 or 4 again tonight. So to me, Sean, that's a humongous sign of positivity for Gabriel Velarde, that he's really, his hands have been on display. Another game where he had 4 shots on net and a hit, very involved. Really liked the way that he played. And, as well as Adam Lowry's done jumping up on that line, Mark Scheifele is able to go, and Rick Bowness is hopeful, but he's not sure about Saturday's availability. And, you may have some, you did see Mark in Toronto at the airport as well. So, we're not sure what that means exactly, but I still think we'll see what Friday brings. Rick Bowness was already planning on giving him a couple days to get himself ready to go with that, soft tissue injury, which we think is a groin injury. So, again, a good game all around for a lot of Jets players. I thought Cole Perfetti, again, was pretty involved. Let me see what we got for ice time. Only 13:25 on 20 shifts. So the thing for Perfetti, he averaged only 40 seconds, and he had 4 minutes on the power play. So, I think you'd probably like to see a little bit more 5-on-5 action. It was a game where Rasmus Kupari, Sean, I think you would have actually liked his game. He was very involved, skated well, getting involved offensively with a couple of important shots, some nice plays. He had himself 2 shots and 5 attempts, 2 hits, 2 takeaways. So he got himself moving. And, overall, one of those games where I wouldn't say the Jets necessarily got away with it, but they definitely were not at their sharpest in the defensive zone. And I think that's something that the Jets know they'd like to get cleaned up here. And Cole Perfetti mentioned it in the postgame also. This is something the Jets have taken enormous pride in terms of their defensive structure. This is another game where they give up 2 or fewer. It's 33 in a row with 3 or fewer, but 2 or fewer. I think they're up to 13 now. I'm going to double check that, but it wasn't the tidiest effort, but this would kind of fall under the found a way without their best, and found a way to get some guys going that hadn't been going offensively, and I think that's probably a big development. Power play gets a goal. Of course, it's they were fortuitous in terms of the bounce they got, in terms of Sorokin losing the skate blade, but they'll take them any way they can get them right now. Anything else? That's probably, I mean, again, Hellebuck was the best goalie on the ice tonight, even though Sorokin was excellent. Sorokin's been absolutely peppered here, Sean, the last 2 nights. 32 shots in 2 periods on Monday against the Minnesota Wild. He had 31 shots through 2 periods today. Finished with 40 saves in the effort. Hellebuck had 36. So again, we love them. We love these kind of goalie duels, right? I mean, a lot of the hockey world was watching Leafs and Oilers today, McDavid versus Matthews and company. But marquee goalie matchup here tonight, and both goalies delivered, even though they probably, by their own admission, probably had at least one each that they didn't like.
So, sorry, Andrea.
You were looking sleepy. You are looking sleepy.
No doubt, I'm looking sleepy. Here, I'm just going to get this rolling and hand the pristine roofing wake-up call to Renny at this moment, who just missed you stopping talking. I also like to throw it out to the gate agent or whoever handled my bag in Columbus, who just didn't throw my bag on the plane the entire time. The funny part about it is I actually got to Toronto in time to hop on a plane and get there early. And the reason they told me that they wouldn't allow me on the plane is because they needed to check my bag from the.
That was going to be tough if it wasn't
bag that
there.
was never coming. So I don't know why they let me on the next flight without it, but fun day anyways. Wake ups all around on a light night like tonight, and maybe just a wake up for the Winnipeg Jets to say, hey, we get it. You still only allowed 2 goals, but it's starting to look a little bit less like what we've seen in the past. You need to kind of get back to that. So pristine roofing wake-up calls all around. That means it's time to give North End Rick the pristine roofing wake-up call at 1-204-981-6289. He's the guy you want to give a call if you want to check out any roofing, siding, exteriors, anything like that. Probably a good time right now. I know it feels like it's the middle of the winter and these things don't matter. This is the time to be getting on the list if you know you're going to need that stuff done in the springtime. So give North End Rick your pristine roofing wake-up call. You could also call pristine roofing at 1-204-237-7663. Ken, a lot of people were talking about Erasmus Kupari. What did you see from him tonight?
Yeah, it's probably one of his best games as a Jet. I mean, it's only 2 back, coming back after not playing since November 14th. So I would say that there's still room for improvement for him. But I thought I saw a significant and marked improvement from Saturday's game against the Flyers, which we knew there would be plenty of rust with just the one AHL game in that lengthy span of time. I thought he was very active in terms of puck movement, doing a good job of creating through the neutral zone with his speed. He played just under 10 minutes on 11 shifts, averaged 54 seconds. Like I said, he had two shots on goal, 5 attempts, 2 hits, 2 takeaways, 1 blocked shot. So I would say he was very involved. And it's something where he needed to be involved, right? I mean, this is a guy who's, Rick Bowness said by his own admission, the Jets on Saturday after I was asking him about him. I mean, they don't really know what they have. And Sean, I mean, they've got decisions looming up front, not just on the back end, but if Mark Scheifele is able to play on Saturday, the Jets have to decide what they're going to do with the roster. So, I mean, that could mean who's getting sent down or who's getting exposed to waivers. They've got some big choices, and Rasmus Kupari is a guy the Jets basically said they had to have him in the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, and he has he's really just kind of trying to find his own way, Sean. And we know he's had some struggles offensively in terms of finishing capabilities, and it's just his 17th game. He only has 1 assist, so we know he'd like to get that element of his game going. I thought he was more involved offensively today, skated well, got in on the forecheck. And I thought that line with Morgan Barron and Alex Iafallo had some really good shifts out there. So, I mean, we're talking about depth all year long with the Jets. The fact that Alex Iafallo, who, spent a ton of time playing on the top line with the Winnipeg Jets here this season with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, is suddenly on the 4th line. There's another great example of the forward depth that the Jets have kind of been leaning on this season. So I like Kupari's game. Obviously still room for improvement, but I do think that he was progressing, and now it's about stacking games like that together here because he wants to stay in the lineup. And Sean, on the flip side of that, Dominic Toninato went up onto the 3rd line and did a nice job too. At one point, I think he was 7-0 on draws. Toninato had a primary assist, or he had an assist in the game. 14-24 of ice time for him on 22 shifts. 3 shots on goal, 4 attempts. So He was a guy that was also very noticeable in the game tonight, Sean. So, I mean, there's a competition there, and I was talking about it on the pregame show on CGOB. I mean, Dominic Toninato is the only one who doesn't need waivers among the forward group right now, but right now he's promoted.
Deserves to stick around, yeah.
Right, so he's promoted to the third line. So, I mean, if Scheifele would be back, obviously Toninato would either drop to the fourth or be out of the lineup potentially. But otherwise, the Jets are, they would have to consider exposing Axel Jonsson-Fjällby to waivers. And, we know he's cleared once this year, but when he came back up this year, he was, he's not producing a ton of offense, but he's very noticeable out on the ice. And, he's got great speed, and lots of teams are looking for capable players with speed. So the Jets have some big decisions coming up here, Sean, and I'll be curious to see what kind of direction they go with them, or maybe does that mean are the Jets going to be a little bit more patient with Mark Scheifele? We know they're not going to rush him back, but he's a guy that they want him in the lineup because he's such an impactful player, and they've barely had him and Iafallo and Connor together. So it's going to be interesting to see, to me, how they handle that. And again, a lot of it will depend on how Mark's feeling in the next couple of days. So we don't have the crystal ball out for that. But, I mean, were you surprised Kyle was back today? I mean, for me, I thought it would be more likely to be Saturday than Tuesday. But, I mean, he's really pushed himself in the recovery process. And, I ended up, wasn't as surprised when I got word that he was potentially playing today.
I mean, I think I was surprised that he was out in the non-contact jersey, and the turnaround is pretty quick there. Rick, it was not long ago. I mean, maybe it was within the last week that he'd said nothing had changed as far as his timeline. I think we got played a little bit on that one. I think we were the conduit to play the rest of the league in that situation there. But I mean, what are we talking about? We talking 2 weeks ahead of schedule? Or maybe, about for sure a week on the short end.
5 days, I guess, essentially.
Yeah,
so he was 5 weeks
on the
and 2
short
days.
end, but I mean, it could have been another 19 days, right? Based on what the prognosis was. And so definitely coming back quick for him. I was a little bit surprised. I think maybe after getting shut out the last game and I mean, I think the game before that is the game that I don't know. I think Rick Bowness has taken a different tack this year. I don't think he hits the players over the head with a sledgehammer the way that he did in years past. I was kind of surprised by that, because at the beginning of the year, if you remember when they were playing, he came out and we were asking questions, because at the beginning of the year, what we saw was a Jets team that wasn't getting wins, but was like really trying really hard. And so I think for us, we were saying, well, but they're doing the right things. So they may not be winning, but they're doing the right things. And Rick Bowness came out and said, look, if we keep allowing 5 goals a game, we're not going to win. Like, that's just the way it goes. So he wasn't afraid to hit them over the head with the sledgehammer then. But I do feel like I've been seeing him kind of hide the team a little bit this year. It's something that we hadn't seen him do before. I'd always talked about Rick being like Mr. Truth Serum. I think this year he's couching those answers a little bit more than he did. And so I think, if you go back, not last game, but the game before that, the one where I took a look at it and I didn't like their effort at all. And I thought it was, one of those against Chicago. I remember saying, like, Chicago didn't deserve to win, I thought, because they just don't have the horses to push any more than they did. But the Winnipeg Jets definitely may have got more than they deserved in that game. So to have that and then to get shut out the very next night, and to be honest, Ken, to be, in that game against Chicago, shut out for essentially 56 minutes before they exploded for 2, and then to show up in the next game and not get any goals. You're talking about a lot of stretches of hockey where the Winnipeg Jets hadn't been scoring goals. So I think, as I said in the previous show, the loss of Mark Scheifele is a pretty tricky loss for this team to spell off. Not that Adam Lowry's not doing a good job with it, but I think, I don't think this is essentially rushing Kyle Connor in the lineup, but I think If it was like, yeah, let's maybe hold him out for 1 or 2 more. I think the time to get him back in, if you're the coach, is now, because you're looking for a spark, right? And I think too, that's another reason why it's important for him to have got Kyle Connor out to get that goal here tonight. Because if he can wake him up, and then you've got that, Rocket Richard trophy threat style player able to like be a one-man band and go out and score. Not that he doesn't get help, but the kind of guy who can go out and just manufacture 2 goals in a game. You're talking about adding to a team that has been doing it by committee. The problem is sometimes the committee doesn't come together. It hadn't really been coming together the last couple of games. So a spark was probably needed, and it looked like they got it tonight.
Yeah, and I think this is a good comment here from Kenny's water bottle. I believe Adam Lowry is playing the best hockey of his career. A complete 200-foot game. Every inch of the ice belongs to him. He leads by example. How he goes, so do the Jets. He's deserving of the C.
Yeah.
This was another kind of classic leadership type of performance from Adam Lowry. And I mean, you touched on it in the open. Of course, there's a lucky element to the puck. An unreal tip by Lowry, but the fact that it goes off Velarde, you can't defend against that. But the fact that those 2 guys go to the net, like you said, at the right time, that's where you get the reward. And I mean, Velarde was in position to poke it over the line. He just couldn't reach it before it was already over. Jeff Bowes says 13, which is Velarde, has been the player the Jets desperately needed for the past 4 years. Net front presence, can deflect any shot, and is great with rebounds. You guys can call them garbage goals, but I think that's skill. Oh, it's definitely
for sure
skill. There's no doubt.
Is he skilled in front of the net? Wow. Yeah.
I mean, we've been fortunate to watch Joe Pavelski in the playoffs a few times, Sean, and some of those great runs, including that Sharks run to the final. I mean, it's definitely a talent, and I think Gabriel Velarde, Sean, honestly I see him as being a 35 to 40 goal scorer if he can play an entire season on a line with Mark Scheifele and potentially Kyle Connor. I just think that he's such a presence along the boards. He can get to the net. He's got a good shot, and I really do think that he's a guy that, I mean, we know he's a good NHL player, but he's the kind of guy that can emerge into an absolute star, and I think that he sees the capabilities and potential. And again, we said similar things about Pierre-Luc Dubois playing with Kyle Connor, but I think that Velarde with Mark Scheifele and Connor has the potential to be an absolutely dynamite line, and that's to take nothing away from Nikolai Ehlers, who was great on the Scheifele line as well. But I just think the two, I mean, Rick Bowness likes to see him with Vladislav Nemestikov. Sean, you would have loved Nemestikov's game today. He was involved all over the ice. He's drawing penalties. He took a penalty. He got driven into the boards it was a very awkward play with Scott Mayfield where by the end of the play, his sticks were flying everywhere. He kind of hooked him accidentally around the head, and then kind of drove his head into the boards. Vladislav Nemestikov goes down on the ice and was not happy about it. But he was able to come back in the next period and after getting checked out, and he was fine and didn't shy away from anything, which was what you love to see from a player who likes to mix it up. But he's so skilled and just such a smart player out on the ice, and he's getting involved in so many areas now, Sean. And again, we've talked about it a lot. I mean, the Jets definitely are going to look at a second line center potentially at the deadline. One of them could, it's funny. We've been trying to identify a lot of people, Sean. I mean, Brock Nelson's a guy with 1 year left on his deal at $6 million. He played at UND. He's from Warroad. We know the Jets feel about the Minnesota Mafia. He's not having as strong a year this year as he had last year.
He'd be a great addition.
But yeah, I mean, big, strong guy, can score, can defend, has played in conference finals. He's a winner. But again, we're not saying the Islanders entered today 1 point out of a playoff spot, so no one here is saying they're selling. But we also know that they have a surplus of centermen. They've got a $5 million centerman in Jean-Gabriel Pageau playing on the fourth line. Yesterday he was on the third, but today he's on the fourth line. So I know he's a guy that one of our colleagues, John Bartlett, thought maybe could be on the docket potentially for the Jets last year. I would think that maybe, what if with $2 million retention on Brock Nelson, at $4 million maybe prior to the deadline, and for next year, there would be some intrigue there. But depends on the price tag. But he's 32 years old. He sort of fits with the win now mentality. So we'll see. I mean, that's another guy to maybe keep your eye on. We should say too, Sean. We mentioned the long shot of Steven Stamkos. According to Julien Brisebois, there will be no long shot for anybody when it comes to Stamkos today. I thought that was interesting news. And just, again, we were not saying it was a likelihood or a possibility, but we thought, based on how disappointed Steven Stamkos was that there weren't any good negotiations leading into the summer and into the season, and now through the season, that there might be a little bit of dismay. But it sounds like he's going to stick it out with the Lightning, and then they'll look at a deal in the off season. But just a little bit of an aside there. But anything else stand out from him? And Sean, I know you were around some other hockey folks and in a couple other markets. We know the Canucks are going to be looking. There's a lot of talk about Jake Gensel around their market. Anything interesting you heard the last couple of days, whether it was in Columbus or stuck in an airport at one of the sites today?
No. I hate going down that road. I hate going down the speculation road. To me, it's just like it's fantasy GM. People are throwing out names. They're throwing out names. How often, other than the Kevin Hayes here, how often has Kevin Cheveldayoff gone and snagged someone that anyone expected him to get, right? Like no one had Nemestikov or Nino Niederreiter on their bingo card last season. No one had Stastny the year that they did. Now, that's not to say that the Jets aren't in a position where they're like, we're going to go for it all. So we're going to get the biggest of the big who are out there. I'm not saying that that's not going to happen, but I just think that we play this game every single year and nobody gets it right. Nobody. I don't care. And it's not, and when I say that, I'm not just talking about our chat room. I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about like the big guns for the most part. The out in the, like no one is leaking that. Even the guy who gets his information leaked to him from Kevin Cheveldayoff all the time and announces it, like shortly before it's announced by the team, doesn't say something 2 weeks ahead of time, and then it ends up being that. Like this is, to me, it's a fun game to play. I just think there's things we can talk about in this game rather than speculating on things that I would argue are 99.9% not going to happen. Maybe I'm just grumpy right now and I'm trying to kill the fun. Hey, I'm going to come in and be the fun place. When I'm grumpy, I'm a good fun place. My dad was a teacher out at Lactabani, and he was a principal, and he'd go in grumpy on days because maybe he'd imbibed a little bit too much the night before, and that was one of the things a teacher said to me at one point, that through the 70s and 80s, that was his superpower, was coming in having one or two too many, and then when the kids made too much noise, Chuck Reynolds got up and like put a quick stop to it because he didn't need his head ringing any harder than it was. So hey, I'm channeling that, and I'm being fueled by the grumpiness right now to shut this down. Hey, I just did want to say, you talked about Dominic Toninato. I thought he'd be a good guy to talk about for our Cambrian paying off situation, because God, has pulling him up ever paid off? And then you throw him up on that third line tonight, and it happens all over again. Dominic Toninato, you got to give this guy credit. I remember this was during the COVID years that they picked him up, and I remember being like, Dominic who? Tony Tonnet, and I just remember being like, he's been in the NHL for a while, but it just felt like for a while the Jets were just always getting these guys who were just on the cusp of being in the NHL and not there. I learned from talking with a number of the Jets coaches that they love Dominic Toninato, and I think there's a real pride in the Winnipeg Jets scouts at having found him and brought him in here, on how well he works when he's up with the Jets, but also the kind of, role model he is for the Moose players. This organization loves this guy, and it's good to see him getting the payoff that he kind of deserves for all the work he's put in, and the players around him getting that payoff. Clearly it's paid off. And if you're looking to pay off high interest credit cards or debt, we suggest you go talk to our friends at Cambridge Credit Union about their payoff loan. They can show you how taking out a loan to pay off your debt actually gets you debt free faster, and you can save thousands of dollars. Go to cambrian.mb.ca to book, or you can book an appointment online. Ken, you want to give Sweet Lou a shout out before we get moving?
Yeah, right on. For folks who have realty needs they'd like to have met in 2024, you should be in touch with our main man, Lou Ferlin at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's L-O-U at LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of the community, including this podcast, for which we are eternally grateful.
Okay, I want to do this before I forget, but SK had bought tickets
right, yes.
for the chat room. We have a winner of those tickets. And I'll tell you this, if living clean and good behavior gets you stuff like this, there's been some kind of mix-up or jumble in the whole thing, because T. Konapali is the winner of the 2 tickets. I saw him in the chat room. T. Konapali, give a big shout out if you're still here, because you have won those 2 tickets to the Winnipeg Jets game February 10th, a Hockey Night in Canada game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So you know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name, T. Konapali. Send me your email address, and I can send you 2 tickets to the game. Good to see that happen. T. Konapali, one of these guys who's been there right since the beginning. JM Sue saying, Julie Sue saying it's rigged. Come on, listen, I can tell you this.
Stuart picked it.
Stuart picked it. He sent me, and actually, Ken, he
had the detailed. He's more detailed than you with your picking.
Oh God, he had like
it was
3
impressive.
different. First, he cut the names down by doing one method of random picking, and then changed that method and applied it to the people who made it through, and then did it one more time with the final 3. So SK definitely. Hey, he's got the Renny stamp of approval for how he handled that situation. So good for T. Konapali. That's good. And I'm going to say this before I go on. I was saying this to you before, Ken. My daughter is trying to get on her band trip to Edmonton this year. She's selling frozen pizzas.
Oh, sorry. I got to still get a couple of those, buddy. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no doubt. But if anyone likes frozen pizzas, is interested in that kind of stuff, wants to send a sweet young girl that I'm just fiercely proud of to try and help her send her on her band trip. If anyone wants to order those kind of pizzas, you can direct message me. I'll respond back with the sheet, and you can tell me if you want any of those kind of orders. No pressure or anything like that. Just if there's people out there who could use some frozen pizzas and have them have them delivered to you, we can do that. Renny can do that because he wants to support his little sweetheart. Anyways, moving on here. You want to get going on your Johnston Group play of the game, Ken?
Yeah, I got you covered is an interesting one. At first, it was tough to tell who actually made the play, but on the Islanders' power play, I think when it was still a tight game. There was a shot that I think was tipped by Kyle Palmieri. It got behind Hellebuck, but DeMello was there, but I think it was actually Morgan Barron who prevented the puck from going over the line. He sort of pushed it into the pad of Hellebuck for a stoppage in play during a Islanders power play. It was during the minor penalty to Vladislav Nemestikov for holding Hudson Fasching. That was my choice. There were a couple of really good plays throughout the contest, but to me that was the one that really stood out, Sean. And that was why I chose it as my Johnston Group got you covered play of the game.
I'm digging it. I'm digging it, Ken, and I'm not going to argue with you because clearly this show, more than other shows even, I don't know what I'm talking about on this. So I'm going to let you have that, and I'm going to say, hey, do you run a small business in Canada? Look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. The Kenny and Renny. Oh, geez. All right, moving on to the keg save of the game. What do you got, Ken?
Oh, keg save of the game. Hellebuck had a couple of really good ones, including one on Noah Dobson. For me, that was the one. That was the one that really stood out. And I would also say honorable mention. Ilya Sorokin took a shot from Kyle Connor, basically right off the mask. So, but I am going with Hellebuck on this night because he was excellent in making 36 saves. But his save on Noah Dobson is our choice for the keg save of the game.
That's a good one, Ken. anyone out there, we'd like you to join in, share with us your keg save of the game, because if you do, you're automatically entered to win a $50 gift certificate to the keg, usable at any of their 3 locations in the city, each location finer than the last. And that would bring us to our keg save of the game winner from last game. And you're going to have to give me just 1 second to cue this up here. I'm kind of going on the fly. Do you remember off the top of your head, Ken? Okay, the keg save of the game is Linda Trudeau. Yeah. You know what I always remember about Linda Trudeau? Linda Trudeau was the first ever lamplighter winner. The first ever APAC lamplighter we gave away was to Linda Trudeau.
Well
so
done,
she's at
Linda
least
Trudeau.
a 2-time winner. Congratulations on that, Linda Trudeau. You know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name and send me your email address, and I will send you, or I'll have the keg send you a $50 gift certificate, usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. Each location finer than the last. Congratulations, Linda Trudeau. And sorry, just to get back to this, people keep asking about the pizza thing. Sorry about that. People just right back to it again, just like you would for anything else. Just direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. I will send you a picture of all the different choices that you can take. You just tell me what you want. I'll write it down. I'll get your info. We'll do the financial transaction, and then we'll get your pizzas to you when it is time. Hey, it's been called for. It's been asked for. And man, I have contributed almost nothing to this show. So at the very least, I could at least contribute putting on a headband and playing some kick-ass music in the process. So let's get at it. Let's make it a Sean's headband version of the Kenny and Renny show. Ken, I'm always surprised when I go do national stuff how much people ask about the headband. Like, it's funny how it really has become one
resonates, buddy. It resonates.
One mistake, one time on a show in the middle of COVID where no one cared what they looked like, made that one mistake, and then it's absolutely immortalized by Tristan Rivers into like just a banger of a song. And then here we go. Now everywhere I go, people are like, "Hey, it's the headband, right?" Like, there you go.
Yeah, buddy.
Article of clothing.
And you should be praised because you were actually working out after the game and before the show came on while I was finishing writing. So you were trying to make yourself, a little better in terms of working out, sweating it out. Good job.
Yeah. I've set myself a low bar, so getting a little better is not that hard to do. It's all about setting and managing the proper expectations, Ken. That's how you do it. Hey, you got a Johnson Group. Not Johnson Group. Time for your TCB lamplighter. What do you got? I can weigh in on this one. I saw it.
Yeah, all 4 have their own, meaning to them, but I'm going with Mason Appleton, not because it was pretty, but because we've been talking about this. Mason Appleton has been in, absolute frigid, absolutely ice cold when it came to offense. Some, tough stretch. There's no way around it. I mean, he had 6 goals early. He went 25 without, and he banked one in. And not only did he bank one in, he banked one in for the game winner. And it's more about the smarts of the hustle play. Like, Sean, you've been around. You've been talking to people around the league. Noah Dobson is on the periphery of the Norris race. Evan Bouchard, guys like that, beyond, Josh Morrissey, Quinn Hughes, and Cale Makar. And for good reason. He plays in all situations. He logs heavy minutes. And Mason Appleton flat out beat him to the puck. And he got there first, and he banked it off of an unsuspecting Ilya Sorokin, who has been absolutely under siege this season. Sean, you and I are used to watching Barry Trott's teams be stifling defensively.
Yeah.
Since the Jets have been back, the Islanders are 12-1-2 in this building against the Jets. And they did not look anything like the team that defends well. They're reeling a little bit. Obviously, they did generate plenty, but they're not that stifling defensive team that we're so used to seeing. And that was just a great example of kind of hustle and will. And Mason Appleton has found a way to still contribute to the penalty kill and be on a great checking line, but he has not been generating. I think Mike McIntyre checked it out. I think Mason Appleton had 27 shots on goal during the 25 game drought, and that's not a lot of offense. We know that they're not asked to drive the offense every night, but that was a tough stretch for him, and he battled through it, and he found his way to get one. And then after that, Sean, he was shooting from everywhere. He had a couple other great chances during the game. I thought Mason Appleton was really good tonight in his 21 shifts for 60, 16, 31, three shots on net, 5 shot attempts. Thought he was excellent, and that's why I'm choosing his goal, even though it won't go down as a high danger chance, but it will go down as a high hustle play, which allowed him to snap a really long drought and not only get his team on the board, but deliver the game-winning goal.
I mean, it's good timing because you could see his frustration in the last game that they played, and you could see like it's spilling over into the fan base. People are like calling for him to be moved down. I would say that Mason Appleton was starting to feel a little bit of pressure. This is not Mason Appleton breaking it in a dramatic it's a game winner, so give him that. But I mean, this is just simply him shoveling the puck to the net and a goaltender making a mistake in this situation, but it goes in. That's not it for me. For me, it's either the first goal, the layers that the Jets build up in that situation is just brilliant, and Josh Morrissey really doesn't get credit for. I mean, here's my take on this. The Jets are one of the best teams in the league now at creating these kind of goals where they just create havoc in front of the net. They were good at it last year as well, ever since Rick Bowness showed up. And I would argue that what happened was Rick Bowness walked in and saw that he's got a defenseman in Josh Morrissey, who's one of the that's a real skill, Ken? Like, you have to be the kind of defenseman that sees a play develop, understands the timing of when a guy's going to get to the front of the net, and not only has to get the puck there, but has to juke his defender to open up the shooting lane to do that. Now, if you're going to understand what I'm talking about here, because the Jets are one of the best teams in the league at shutting down that shooting lane from the point, right? They're so good. Mason Appleton's really good at it. Morgan Barron's really good at it. All the Jets are, but some guys are just downright smothering. So the Jets are very hard just to get a shot in on. Josh Morrissey is doing this, and he's not only able to consistently generate the shot from the point, but he's able to do it in a way that he gets his defender to bite just at the right time so that he can open up the shooting lane at the same time as two guys get there from two different directions, and then he fires it right down the middle of those two and capitalizes on that chaos. That's brilliant. Like, there's way more going on there than to the untrained eye. You look at that and you think that it's just a guy throwing the puck to the net and it's a schmozzle and it goes in and that's it. It looks easy. It's not. What he did there's like a handful of defensemen on earth who are capable of doing that. Quinn Hughes, who I just covered, is one of those. Cale Makar's another one. These guys are really, really smart at doing these things. Victor Hedman's always been really good at it as well. But this is high-level stuff. But even that, for me, is not my lamplighter of the game. For me, it's the Kyle Connor goal. I know it's an empty net goal. I just can't get over the faith shown by a head coach in a guy who's been out for 5 weeks, a guy who would not be considered one of the most defensive players on this team, to throw him out in that situation, to have that faith in him, and to also try and give him the opportunity to get back in the scoring, not scoring race, but get back into that column, and then to have that response. That, to me, is just such a strong moment of trust between a coach and a star player. And regardless if that goal launches Kyle Connor back into scoring, and like maybe, you get it out of the way earlier and now they come in bunches, maybe that won't happen. Maybe now he'll go 5 games without scoring a goal. But what's been established here, Ken, and the chat room is that if I'm Kyle Connor, I feel all kinds of amazing at the way my coach feels about me and the kind of opportunities that he creates and opens up for me, and a whole team full of guys who maybe would be deserving to be out there at that time of the game. And would, hey, Mason Appleton would love to have gotten a second goal and been out in that. And to be honest with you, I don't know if he was out before that. I'm guessing that he probably was at some point. So I'm not even going to go down that road because I don't know who was out there and who wasn't out there. Because as we know, I didn't watch the game. But I just think if you're Kyle Connor, it feels amazing to have a coach that seems to get you, seems to go out of his way to make that happen for you. And I think Kyle Connor responded in kind. This is just another example of how Rick Bowness has reached player after player after player after player on this team, which is why I think the buy-in that I see from this Jets team is greater than any team around the NHL at this moment. No doubt in my mind. Before we do go, because we've got another 4 minutes here. We got to hand out the lamplighter. Time to hand out the lamplighter. Hey, that's my lamplighter. That was Ken's lamplighter. I'm a little sleepy. Ken woke me up just in time to hand out the award.
Wake up, Sean.
It does not matter what I thought or what Ken thought. It matters what you think. We need you to share with us your pick for your lamplighter of the game. And if you do, you will automatically be entered to win a Frosty Delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale brought to you by our friends at TransCanada Brewing Company. If you cannot wait for Kenny and Renny to give you your very own 8-pack of Frosty Delicious Lamplighter, you can head on down to TransCanada Brewing Company. Join them in their tap room at 11290 Kenniston, where we will be having less than a week from now, Ken. Less than a week from now. Here it is.
Time to get your tickets, people.
It is time to get your tickets. This is the final push. Not a lot of games between now and then, so not a lot of time for us to remind you. If you've been sitting on your hands, get off them. Get down, get these tickets. It's going to be a blast. The food's amazing. The drinks are great. If you've been to any of these events, you know how fun they are. If you haven't been to one of these events, what are you waiting for? Get on down there. We want to show TransCanada Brewing Company that the Kenny and Renny audience is the best damn audience in the city and knows how to support what's going on in these spaces. So get your tickets. We'll see you on down there. And that means it's time now for us to gift the 8-pack to someone who was at the last show, Ken. I know she was at the last show. She came a long way for the last show. She let us know and chewed us out with our technical difficulties on the last show. That would be Kim Sawchuk. Kim Sawchuk, you have won yourself a Frosty Delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale, brought to you by our friends at TransCanada Brewing Company. You know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name and an email, and I will send you a voucher for a Frosty Delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale, brought to you by our friends at TransCanada Brewing Company, the nectar of the gods. Quickly, before we go, Ken, I just wanted to touch on Velarde. Hey, and it's an opportunity for all those people who've been waiting with bated breath, with a Frosty Delicious Lamplighter in their hand to take a sip. They're waiting for their cue. I'm going to bring up Snake Charmer offense, and I'm going to say this. The one thing about that line, the Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler line, was you didn't really have a guy who was going to the net for that line. So they are always trying to score from distance, right? Because that's where those players live. Velarde is essentially the Snake Charmer killer, because he goes straight to the net, goes hard to the net. This is hit. It's exactly the point, and I think I starred this, but it's exactly the point that Jeff Bose made before. I can tell you right now, if we were still handing out shovels, Jeff Bose would be winning it for this game. As again, he said 13 has been the player the Jets desperately needed for the past 4 years. Net front presence, can deflect any shot, and is great with rebounds. You can call them garbage goals, but I think that skill, I think we've all determined that I don't think anyone thinks anything other than that. He's extremely skilled, got great hands in tight like that, but he goes out and it's no choice whether it's Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor or Mark Scheifele and Nikolai Ehlers. There's no choice but to take advantage of the direct approach that Gabe Vilardi takes in getting to the front of the net. If you think of all these passes that are made to Gabe Vilardi, I can think of that power play pass a couple games back where Nick Ehlers finds him right on the side of the net. All these goals that he's getting in tight, a bunch of them assisted by Mark Scheifele. Hey, he goes to a dirty spot and creates opportunities, gets open, and because he's doing that, those players are taking the puck there. Gabe Vilardi has helped kill the snake charmer offense in this team because his directness is showing them a path to the net that is obvious scoring. Are the goals as pretty? Probably not, because that's what Jeff Bose is suggesting here, that people think that they're garbage goals and that there's not skill involved with them. I can tell you this right now. There's very few players. Hey, there's very few players who can score from distance the way a lot of star players can, but there's also very few players that can consistently find the openings in a goaltender that close up in those situations. The players who do, you mentioned it, like the Joe Pavelskis of the world, those guys who do it are absolutely phenomenal and dangerous players. You will notice, no matter what age he's been, Joe Pavelski is a dangerous player in the playoffs. You can expect Gabe Vilardi is going to be a dangerous player in the playoffs as well. Ken, what do you got to say before we go?
Yeah, just last one. I was curious for your thoughts on why Kyle Connor was not interested in discussing the hit that sent him to the sidelines when I asked him about it today.
So I didn't. This is the first time hearing of it. I didn't read.
I have a
of
theory.
Things.
Anyways,
I've been too busy. I mean, I just don't think he wants to open it up. I mean, to me, I think it's behind him.
Yeah.
I think he knows it's a dirty play. I think he is under the impression, just like the Winnipeg Jets. We've talked about this in the past, are a team that I think straddles the line of honoring the initial hockey code. And I can, all you people out there who hate this, and I can tell you right now from the conversations that I've had within this room, the Winnipeg Jets understand the code. They know the code. A lot of those guys in that room, I think the majority of them adhere to the code. So you may not like the fact that it exists. It does. If you're going to be mad at that, you can just continue being mad about it. But I think the Jets do a really good job of not letting the code get out of hand, like we've seen it happen years past, and they don't get caught up in retribution. So I think Kyle Connor, it's one of these things, like Kyle Connor is one of these guys, and Mark Scheifele, all these guys are the control what you can control, right? I can get up in the morning, I can work out, I can eat right, I can work hard, I can do this, right? These guys control what they can control. Kyle Connor can't control what happened in the past, and spending his time dwelling on it is just probably, like, I know this about Kyle Connor. This guy is like, takes every fiber of his being, every thought, every ounce. He guards his energy and directs it to something that can help him. And looking back on that doesn't help him.
Yeah, that was my theory entirely. I mean, I just think that, he appreciated the fact that Strome reached out after the game, I presume to apologize and to say it was an accident. And I just think that rather than, he might have watched I'm not even sure if he watched the highlight once, but I just think that he's exactly what you said. I think that he was so hyper focused on, not letting that derail his incredible season. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. He had 17 goals in 26 games, well on pace for 50. That was taken away from him. But what they can't take away is the opportunity to maybe go to the playoffs again and go on a run. And that, I think, is what he dedicated all of his time and energy towards doing. And I'm not surprised. I mean, we know how he's wired, and we know exactly how he prepares. And I think that was my theory anyway. And I see what a great way to agree before you get some rest after a very torturous day.
Yeah, no worries. Hey, this is the job. It beats working for a living. So I'm just going to keep on doing it, get some sleep, and we'll be back at it tomorrow. Ken, thanks for taking care of all the stuff behind the scenes and helping make this show come to light. Sorry, everybody, I was late. I so much appreciate all the people who stuck around. It means a ton to us that you did that. Before I do go, I want to say, if you appreciate the conversations happening in this space, please appreciate the contributions by our sponsors that fight to keep the conversation going in the space for us. That's Vittorio Rossi, Pristine Roofing, Sweet Lou Furlan, Cambrian Credit Union, the Kenny and Renny OGs, the Johnston Group, the Keg, and of course, TransCanada Brewing Company. Thank you to them. Get your tickets right now. Grumpy Renny says, get your tickets, buy some frozen pizzas, give Ken a high five if you see him in the streets. We need some action out of you people out there. So get at it. Appreciate everything that you do out there, chat room. Thanks for being here. When's the next game, Ken?
Saturday afternoon in
Saturday?
Ottawa. Yes.
Jets, oh my goodness. I may
Jets
not wake
and
up until
Senators
Thursday.
hockey day in Canada.
There you go. It's going to be great. And then the one after that is the big one. The big one. Monday nighter, Boston Bruins, TransCanada Brewing Company. The place to be. Get your tickets. We'll see you there, folks. Thanks for joining us. We'll chat with you on Saturday.